Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today, we've got a special one for you. The NFL is over. Oh, sad, I know. Believe me, we'll all be crying for a while, but don't worry. It'll be back before you know it, come around August time. But we've got a lot of other NFL coverage here on the shows here on Betting Pros. We're going to talk some combine, some other things, but it's really NBA season right now, and we're a little bit past the halfway mark, which means it's All-Star game time, which means we have to talk to our resident NBA legend, Matt Modi, who is the host of Fast Break Bets here right on the channel every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days a week now, giving you the best in NBA. Matt, I appreciate you hanging out with us today outside the normal work you're doing, because today we're going to talk a little All-Star game, a little bit of the maybe what the NBA looks like in the future, but this is that time of year where I think you sit back and evaluate the season and what you've seen so far. So that being said, I know it's kind of a big question, but what are the big takeaways for you so far of what you've seen out of the NBA in 2023, now into 2024?
Yeah, good question. I think it's been interesting to see how much people care about the game limit for season awards and stuff, like the 65 game limit to be all NBA or to win like MVP and stuff. Like Embiid was the favorite. Now he's hurt. Now he's there. He's not even possible to win the MVP now because he's hurt. I think it's been interesting to see like the Oklahoma City, one of the youngest teams in the NBA, one of the best teams in the NBA, the Celtics just running away with the East. I feel like every year there's some type of like narrative that forms at the beginning of the year, whether scoring's up, whether scoring's down. This year it kind of feels like it's the young guys in the West, the Thunder. Even the Timberwolves are the number one seed in the West with Anthony Edwards leading the charge. So no, it's been a fun season.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the changes to the NBA season. I love it. I think it's great. I would like Major League Baseball to continue to evolve. Last year was a big jump for MLB for sure. And some of the rules changes we had. It was very positive across the board. And speaking of baseball, we'll be having baseball shows there. Don't worry, Joey Futures already has some bets in. I'm going to be giving them to all you as we go on in the next weeks ahead. But Matt, let's turn our attention obviously to the All-Star game. And let's start here with the competition for the skills, because that's something, I grew up with. I'm old enough, Matt. I'm old enough to remember Spud Webb winning. I'm old enough to remember the Jordan years and Dominique Wilkins and all that stuff. But it's become a different contest over the years. We're going to talk dunk contest, but let's start the three-point contest. When I was a boy, Larry Bird was winning every year. But now it's a very different set of circumstances. So who is your favorite pick here for the three-point contest this coming weekend?
Yeah, so for the three-point competition, I definitely did the deepest dive on that. So I'm very prepared for this. My favorite bet is Tyrese Haliburton. Right now he has the second best odds, so it's not a super hot take. The betting favorite in terms of odds is Damian Lillard. I'm not on Dame. I actually like Tyrese Haliburton. Technically, a hometown player has never won the three-point competition, which is interesting. That doesn't scare me off at all. That's just kind of more facts than any that actually matters or anything. Last year was in Utah. Lauri Markkanen he was participating. Obviously, he didn't end up winning. Dame's the betting favorite, but he's just not having a good year shooting from deep. He's shooting his second lowest percentage in his career at 34.4%. Last year when he won, he was shooting 37.1% and averaging over 30 points per game. He's even admitted that he's got some personal stuff going on. That's kind of the reason why he's been shooting in a slump a little bit. But I think just because he won last year and because he's got the name value of Damian freaking Lillard, that's why he's the betting favorite. I don't really see the value there. For me, it was on Tyrese Haliburton. He was the runner-up last year, lost to Dame. So he's got experience in the competition, successful experience in the competition, and he tied the record for most points in the first round last year with 31. That's literally the record. Obviously, they change the scoring every year, so the records are kind of wonky, but he did really well in the first round and then kind of just lost his juice as it went on. But 5 years into his career, he shot 40% from deep, 40% from deep or better every single year. And the reason why I ended up picking him as my favorite, I try to find like advanced stats that matter for the three-point competition, like what matters, what doesn't. And the two things that I looked at was not only shooting percentage, but volume as well. And I looked specifically at wide open three-point attempts, because that's exactly what the three-point competition is.
Right, it's a great point.
Yeah. He attempts the second most wide open three-point attempts in the NBA at 5.1, and he makes 43.2% on those attempts. The only player that shoots more than him is Trae Young, who is participating. He's got the third best odds, but he shoots at a much lower clip, right? Like Trae Young is more known as a shooter. I think not. He's known as being a better shooter than he actually is. I think because he has deep range, but he's not a high percentage type of shot maker like Haliburton is. And then in terms of strictly percentages, Malik Beasley technically makes the highest percent of anybody participating, but he shoots less than half the attempts per game. So I tried to find volume plus accuracy is kind of where I went and how I landed on Tyrese Haliburton. So I know that was a long diatribe, but that's where we're going.
I think you backed it up, man. Like I think it's fascinating because you actually found some stats that could actually somehow be relevant in a contest where everything is completely arbitrary. And I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Not to mention the number is more than 4-1. I mean, Matt, right off the bat, how often do you get any contest where the second person is 4-1? That's a really good situation. So is there a long shot too, if people want to have some fun and maybe sprinkle something somewhere else?
Yes, there is. So it's what I try to do for all these kind of events, a favorite and a long shot. My long shot is Lauri Markkanen. He's best offered at plus 800 odds. So 8-1, pretty good. His second year participating, I do like the fact that he has some experience. I mean, a first-time player has won before, so it's not necessary, or it's not like I'm completely writing them off. I just like the fact that they have experience. So I looked at a little bit of a different stat with Markkanen. For Haliburton, it was shots that were wide open. For Markkanen, it's catch and shoot opportunities, because that's essentially the same mechanics as the three-point competition. And Lauri Markkanen attempts the most catch and shoot opportunities per game in the NBA. He launches 7.4 catch and shoot. He's the only player in the NBA above 7. Everybody else is 6 and below. And he shoots about 42% on those. So he does shoot them at a high clip and at a high percentage. The next closest participant in terms of catch and shoot is Malik Beasley, who attempts 4.8, so almost 3 fewer per game. So that's kind of like for Haliburton, it was wide open. For Markkanen, it's catch and shoot. And I do like the fact that Markkanen also, of the participants, he attempts the third most wide open shot attempts as well. So he kind of has the best balance of the two. He makes 45% on 3.6 attempts per game. And then on the year, he's shooting 40.4%. So another shooter that shoots a lot of volume at a high clip. So between the two, I like the two I got. I like Haliburton, I like Markkanen. Hopefully we can get one of them to cash.
All right, let's move to the dunk contest now, which has really, evolved and changed in the last decade too, I would say. I think the big takeaway for me when I watch it annually now is the missed dunks really take the air out of the room. Like, you get so hyped up, you get so excited, you see all the setups and all the things, and they're like, well, there's a Rolls Royce, and now Shaq's going to stand on top of that, and the guy's going to grab the ball off of that, and he's going to miss it 6 times, and then eventually he makes it.
Yeah.
I wish they would just tighten that up a little bit. Now, I understand that everyone's watching all that stuff, but I feel like so much of that too is, I don't know if you could, find a stat to back this up, but it feels like we're, the guys who at least complete their dunks within 1 try or 2 tries almost have a better opportunity to get further in this competition because the air doesn't go out of the bubble as much for them, despite the degree of difficulty. So with all the weird little idiosyncrasies that are now part of this dunk contest, there's somebody that stands out to you on the betting board that makes sense.
Yeah, admittedly, the dunk contest is harder to find, like the stats that I found for the three-point competition. For context, the favorite is Mac McClung, who won last year, but he's offered at minus 190. Yeah, I'll probably admit that he's the most likely to win. The odds obviously reflect that. Only 4 guys have repeated as NBA Slam Dunk champions, and the last one to do it was 2015. Granted, McClung is definitely a good bet to do so. I went with Jacob Toppin at plus 600 odds. He's got the third. So there's 4 participants. He's got the second long shot odds. The second, he's just the least second favorite. I'm not sure the wording there. With Jaime Jaquez Jr. as the longest. So Obi Toppin is his brother. He won in 2021. Of the guys participating, Toppin has the longest reach. So I think and he's also one of the taller ones. So I think from height and length alone, he could probably finish some dunks that the other guys might not be able to. Like Mac McClung could jump higher, but he's got a shorter reach and he's just shorter in general. So maybe Obi Toppin is capable of finishing some dunks without needing 10 different attempts like some other guys. So that one I'm admittedly not as confident in, but 6-1 plus 600 odds. Again, longest reach, which was my logic there. But this one's a little bit tougher, admittedly.
Was that Zach LaVine, the last guy?
Yes, that
was
Zach
look at
LaVine.
that. The recesses of the brain still work. Not great, Matt, but they still work a little bit. Okay.
They still work.
let's get to the game itself. Now, obviously, if you like defense, this is not the game for you. The All-Star game officially has always been, well, it's a shoot fest. It's fun. It's running up and down. It's like watching your uncles play basketball and all that kind of stuff. But it is fun from the standpoint of it's very high scoring. There's a lot of show, and that's entertaining. So before we even get to some of the individual stuff, when you look at over-under numbers, is there, I think this is one of the harder things in all of sports to hit on the over-under, because the number is always going to be so high. The defense is so low. Do you have a lean on this? Like, have we set it to a point this year where it's so high that maybe it does underperform slightly?
Yeah, so I do have some numbers about the total. So it opened up at 365.5. Is currently offered at 361.5. So however sharp you can call it, because it's the All-Star game, sharp money did come in on the under. The important thing to note with the All-Star game is there's no Elam ending. They had it for the past 3 or 4 years, where the Elam ending, for those of you who don't know, it's instead of having a timed fourth quarter, it's just first to get to this many points. This year they're just doing 4 normal 12-minute quarters. So no Elam ending. So you can't look at last year. The over-under was 325.5. That's because of the Elam ending. With that said, I'm not going to suggest anybody actually take the under on the All-Star game, but I will admit that's the better play than the over. It's not going to be as fun, and you're going to watch it, and you're going to be like, man, these guys don't play defense.
Nope.
But even the past couple years pre-Elam ending, like the total hasn't exceeded 361 since 2017, and there's a 3 or 4 year span in there where there's no Elam ending. So I personally am not touching the total. If someone were to bet the total, the best value would be on the under. But that's definitely going to make you sweat a little bit.
I imagine, Charles Oakley and Bill Laimbeer just watch the All-Star game and just punch walls the entire time because they're just so mad.
100%.
Yeah. They used to punch people. Now they just punch walls.
True.
All right, let's get to a side of this game that you like potentially here. So East or West, which side are you landing on?
Yeah, so I actually like the East, and they're the underdog here. They're plus 125, plus 128 actually are the actual odds. I feel like the West is the favorite because they have the better players, and you just look at the name. Jokic, Doncic, Kawhi, LeBron, Kevin Durant. A lot of these guys don't try in the All-Star game anymore, whereas the East, a bunch of young and upcoming guys who actually will give effort, or Giannis, even though he's a little bit older, he still gives a ton of effort in the All-Star game. And if I'm picking a side, I'll pick the side that I think is at least going to try better, try harder, not necessarily the side with the bigger names. Like Luka. He's appeared in 4 All-Star games. He's never scored more than 8 points. Jokic, he literally admitted last year that he just doesn't care about the All-Star game. His exact quote, "I would not draft myself either. I'm not meant for this game." Which is hilarious. And I mean, you just watch Jokic play. Like, his game is not an All-Star game type of guy. And then there's LeBron, who used to give a ton of effort in the All-Star game. As he's gotten older, has given a lot less effort. Beginning in his career, he would always play 30-plus minutes. He's played fewer than 20 in 3 of the last 4, and he scored single digits in 2 of the last 3 as well. Whereas the young guys, they got Tyrese Haliburton making his first career start. Jason Tatum dropped 55 in the All-Star game last year. Damian Lillard is not obviously a young guy, but he's also making his first start in the All-Star game. And then like Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, all these guys that have a little bit more to prove than Kawhi Leonard and all these vets in the West that have been there and done that. So I think the better play here is on the East money line. You can get it for plus odds.
Plus odds sounds good to me. I didn't realize Dame had never started an All-Star game. That's kind of interesting.
It's because the West, between the guards, like Steph Curry,
so loaded. Yeah, I guess so. All the years of the Warriors and Lakers, and it just that's one I just never really thought about. All right, so let's pick an MVP because that's always fun. These odds are probably all over the place in terms of big names and big numbers. But is there one combination of those two things that you think has a real opportunity? And especially if you like the East, I would imagine that MVP comes from there.
Yeah. So if the East wins, which is my prediction, I think the most likely MVP is Giannis. There's a couple of things that you need to win MVP. You obviously need to care about the game. That's the most important one. And Giannis has shown that he cares. Last year, you can't look at because he was hurt heading into the game. So he only played 1 possession because he still wanted to start it. But prior to that, he had scored 30 points in the previous 2 All-Star games. And he checks every box for if you look at previous MVPs. He's obviously got a massive name. He's one of the biggest names in the NBA. Excuse me. He's shown that he cares about the game, which is important. He's on a good team. Granted, they're on a little bit of a slump, but I think they're still 3rd, maybe 4th in the East at this point. He's won a Finals MVP before. He's won real-life MVPs before. So after missing it last year, I think it only makes sense for him to go giving full effort in the game this year. He's also having an awesome year himself, even though the Bucks are kind of stumbling a little bit. He's having a great year. And even though he is the betting favorite, he's still 6-1. He's plus 600 odds. So I always feel chalky going with the favorite. It makes me feel a little bit better when it's plus 600.
Oh, yeah, it would make me feel better, too. Now, if you parlay those things together, I imagine it's a pretty good payout. I almost kind of want to check on that to see what that might be. Or so if I take the East for the upset and Giannis, I put those two things together. Right now, I can't parlay them on FD. So I got to find another way to do that. And that's why you have the Betting Pros app. So you know exactly where to bet the best lines at the best times and get the most out of it. So if you haven't already, download the Betting Pros app and make sure you're utilizing the tools. And of course, if you want to check out premium, you have iOS. You can go ahead and get 3 free days of premium. Perfect weekend to do it with the All-Star weekend. You got MLB futures out and ready to go. You've got some early NFL stuff out there. So a lot of opportunities this weekend on the holiday to make some bets and do it smarter, not harder, over the Betting Pros app. So do that, please. All right. So Matt, I also tasked, I put him to extra work. Again, this is extra credit he's putting in for you people today. So I hope you appreciate it. But let's get a little bit into the future of the NBA. So if there are 3 bets maybe for the people out there on the board that you like, that you think that people can use Betting Pros app, go ahead and use this knowledge and go ahead and make some money on NBA rest of the season. What do you see that's out there that's really intriguing for the rest of 24?
Sure. So I have 3 for you guys. They're going in order of most likely to least likely to occur. So keep that in mind. They're all plus money because that's one of my, you got to bet plus money. That's one of my favorite things to do. The first one that I want to talk about is Steph Curry to win the Clutch Player Award. He's currently the betting favorite, but he's plus 190 at DraftKings. So I still think that's solid value. It's honestly a 2-man race, in my opinion, between him and Damian Lillard. Dame has the second best odds to win at plus 270. But I think, I mean, you could take both because I'd be shocked if a third player wins. So you can kind of guarantee some income there, assuming one of them does win. It's only the second year of this award, so you don't have a ton of historical data and precedent and kind of what to go off of and stuff. But Steph Curry obviously has the name, Steph freaking Curry. And I did try to find some stats to back this up. So NBA has a stat where they define clutch points. It's like if 5 minutes or fewer in the fourth quarter and the game is within, I think, a couple, I forget the exact numbers, but on the entire season, Steph has 157 total clutch points, again, as defined by NBA.com. The next closest player is DeMar DeRozan at 106 clutch points. That's a 51-point difference between him and the second most. And then if you look at like minutes played in the clutch, he's at the 4th most. So it's not like he's racking up a bunch of stats just because he's playing the most. 4th most, yeah, it's a lot. It's not the most, and he's scored the most points by a mile. In terms of clutch points per game, he's second in the NBA with 5.1. The only guy above him is Anthony Simons, and he averages 5.2. Obviously, Simons isn't going to win the award. And he has the highlight reel moments, which I think you need. You need to have the stats, and you need to have the highlight reel moments. And we all remember the game winner he had against the Suns, where he like turned and shot it and put it up with like a couple seconds left. It was like a ridiculous shot. So you can have that on the highlight board when you announce Steph Curry as the winner. So I think at plus 190, I think it's like a 40% win percentage, something like that. I think
it's pretty good.
More often than not.
You know, it's funny. We put this show together a couple of days ago, and that number's even moved. I don't know if you've seen in some spots it's even all the way minus 125. Do you think it would still be a good wager if by the time people see this, like I'm looking at Betting Pros right now, you see 125, even minus 150 in a couple other books. I see that's where DraftKings has moved. Would you still bet it with all those great stats you have? I know you're plus money. Otherwise, I start calling you minus money Matt. And I don't think you want that moniker. I don't think that's what you want.
It went from plus 190 to minus 150.
See, your instincts were amazing, Modi.
That's crazy.
Your instincts are right on. See, if we had just done this show Thursday, things would have been better. So now that it's moved to minus 125 in some spots, like I said, I'm looking up Betting Pros right now. You can get that over at BetMGM. Would you still invest in it before it goes even further down the road?
So I would still take it at minus 125. I wouldn't take it at minus 150. It has moved like that for a reason. Like right now, Jokic is minus 150 to win MVP, and I still think that's a good bet at that number. Because at the end of the day, it's what are the win percentage of the odds and what's the win percentage of the bet? And I still think that the win percentage is higher than the minus 125 odds. But that is unfortunate that I didn't realize it moved that much.
This is why I have the BP app, everybody. This is what I'm looking at, because I'm looking to bet it. Because, you know, I'm knee deep in Major League Baseball right now. I do nothing but NFL all year long, pretty much, too. So NBA, this is kind of where I start to get caught up a little bit. So I'm looking like, all right, Matt's putting me in the right direction. And all of a sudden, Matt's so smart. he says something, boom, next thing you know, all of a sudden the lines move. All right, let's get to another one here. Let's talk about Coach of the Year. You got a feeling for that one?
Yeah, so Coach of the Year, I'm going with Chris Finch. I will admit I'm pretty heavy on futures that are related to the Timberwolves in the regular season, not in the playoffs. But right now, they're the favorite in the West. They're the 1 seed in the West by a couple games now. They just smacked the Clippers in the Clippers home court. Like, that's fresh in people's minds. They also won, and this isn't as impressive, back-to-back against the Blazers. I mean, they beat the crap out of them, so that's obviously good. What I like is, A, they're already in the 1 seed. B, they have, of the top 4 seeds in the West, which is it's them, the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Thunder. They have the easiest strength of schedule remaining of those 4. And they also have the best record in the NBA against teams above the 500. Even better than the Celtics, who have a 4.5 game lead on them just in terms of overall record. They have the best win percentage against teams above 500. So they have an easy schedule. And then on the teams that are tougher, they have a good win percentage against. Right now, the betting favorite is Mark Daigneault at plus 170. That makes sense because the Thunder are one of the youngest teams, and last I checked, they were the 2nd seed in the West, so that all makes sense. But it's not like the Thunder don't have talent, right? Like, Chet is either going to win Rookie of the Year or come up second. SGA is a legitimate MVP candidate. Jalen Williams is getting better every month. And let's not forget how bad the Timberwolves have been for my entire adulthood. Like, they've been a joke for 25 years. And now Chris Finch has got the Timberwolves with the best defense in the NBA by a mile. The best defense of the past 2 years, if you just look at defensive net rating. And this team was a mess even last year when they first got Rudy Gobert. So I think he deserves credit for how good their defense has become, for making Rudy Gobert back into a defensive player of the year type of player where he was with the Jazz. And you're getting this for plus 320 odds. At least that's what it was last I checked. Hopefully this one didn't move aggressively against me.
No, it didn't. It just that one. And again, it's only because I'm like, well, I might as well bet this because I trust you. You're a very smart guy and you're smarter than you know. The next one, I love this. This is, I am from New York. If you are from New York, there's not a lot of New York basketball you've been very excited about for a very long time. But the Knicks seem to be on a team that's on an upward trajectory. They're plus 700 and you think they can win the East. Tell everybody why.
Yes, I have been a Knicks hater my entire life, but I'm switching the other way. I'm going totally in the opposite direction.
The last time the Knicks made it to a finals was 99. So that was probably, it was some, Charles Oakley might have been on that team now. They think about it.
I was 7 years old when that happened.
There you go.
Yeah, so the Celtics are the heavy favorite for obvious reasons. They have the best record in the NBA. They probably have the best top 6 in the NBA. They're plus 130 to win the East. Like, to me, there's not enough value on that at plus 130. Like that, like maybe the Warriors in their prime, I would take plus 130 to win. So of the options of the field, it was the Bucks, who, as a Sixers fan, are coached by Doc Rivers. He hasn't made an adjustment since 2008. I'm out on that. They're the second favorite at plus 300 now. The third favorite is the Knicks that I'm talking about at plus 700. And the fourth favorite are the Cavs at plus 900. The Cavs, I like their roster. They're still a little bit younger, and they got punked so badly by the Knicks in the playoffs last year that I have a hard time seeing them winning 3 playoff series to get out of the East in a really, really tough East. And then the Sixers are the 5th best at plus 1100. If you guaranteed me that Embiid came back and was healthy, I think that'd be some good value, but at without that guarantee, obviously you can't guarantee that. I'm not touching. So that led me to the Knicks, 3rd best odds, who I think have a phenomenal roster. But more importantly than that, I don't think that the public has adequately caught on to Jalen Brunson being a legitimate superstar. He joined the Knicks, and last year they were a fun, up-and-coming team that nobody expected to do anything. He's a legitimate superstar. He's with their whole team banked up, he's scoring 30 points a game. He's one of the best pull-up shooters in the NBA off the pick and roll. He can lead the he can lead the fast break. He's a good distributor. And while he's not the best in terms of quick twitch defender, he's at least got a sturdy base, so you can't just out-muscle him and punk him on defense. And outside of that, their roster is phenomenal. Before injuries kind of derailed the team, they made the OG Anunoby trade right around New Year's. They had the best defense in the NBA for 5-6 weeks, but better than the Cavs, better than the Timberwolves, the best defensive net rating. Obviously, they need all those guys to get healthy, but OG Anunoby, Julius Randle should get back in the next couple weeks. There's no concern like there is on the Embiid side. And outside of that, DiVincenzo has been playing great. Josh Hart has been playing great. I love the addition of Bojan Bogdanovic, just another shooter who won't get completely exposed on defense. And they might even get Mitchell Robinson back, who would turn their already elite defense into even more. And I just like the fact that they can play different ways. They can go small, put Hartenstein at center. They can go big. They have a bunch of ways they can beat you. And I think Jalen Brunson, like I said, what you need to win in the NBA is a legitimate superstar, and they have that in Jalen Brunson. So for plus 700, 7-1 odds, there you go.
There you go. Really good. That's very exciting for Knicks fans. Be careful, Knicks fans. I know you don't have a lot historically to get excited about, but I was wrong. It wasn't Oakley. He was already gone from that team. That was the Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell days. Marcus Camby, I want to say, on that roster.
Was that the lockout year where they had it was a shortened season? And they were
you might be right.
Eight seed or
you
something
might be
like
right.
that?
That's what Google's for, Matt. That's what Google.
Yeah,
We're going to Google it all after the show. But make sure you're staying here for the show every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, live right here. You got questions, you can ask Matt. But Matt Modi is the man when it comes to NBA. So make sure you're following him over on X. Make sure you also check out the live streams every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Again, subscribe to the channel, drop your comments below. Give us your picks for the dunk contest, for the three-point contest, for the rest of the season, too. You got something to say? Say it in the YouTube comments, but say it respectfully. Be nice, all right? We run a nice little community here. Be nice. That's a warning from Uncle Joe. Matt, great stuff as always, man. Great to talk to you. Finally, our first show together. I doubt it'll be the last. I doubt it. But fantastic work here. Go enjoy the NBA All-Star Game festivities and the rest of the NBA season. We'll check in on you, I'm sure, in the months to come. And that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Matt, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.